Hello. So I'm going to be trying to do some 10-minute PDs for you. And in these 10 minutes, I really want to be thinking about how to really use Google Docs, Google Slides, and other websites to more effectively help students. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Google Docs and how we can start using comments and feedback for students right in their Google Docs. So there's some basics of Google Docs that I think everyone knows. You click on here to change the title, you can highlight it, change the whole thing. Right at the top, you can star it, which makes it a priority in your Google Drive. You can move it to a folder right within the document, or you can check to see if it's available offline or if it's all changes are saved. So, part of giving feedback is being able to leave comments. And in Google Docs, it makes it very easy for teachers to be able to leave feedback for students. So, let's say this is our first edit, okay? This is their introduction to what they're writing. Notice how when I highlight, these options come up. So I can add a comment right from there, or I can suggest edits. So in Google Docs, as an editor, I own this document. I can make any changes that I want. And if another student or teacher or is in this as an editor, they can change anything that they want. So sometimes adding in a comment is a better option. So you could add the comment of maybe you want to change and switch these words, change the words theme, or, it's repetitive. Make sure whatever, leave comment here. Okay. So I'm going to comment. So now when it's highlighted, it is a comment for the student that's going to be right on the side. Let's say I have a suggestion. There's a rewrite that I want to give. So right here, I can suggest edits. So now I am suggesting, for example, I would like that person to add a comma in. So now, that's not a great place for a comma. I can do that. I'm going to move my head. Let's X that one. I'm going to reject it, because that was not a great example. So for one example, and I want to say in the story. So I could just highlight right here, and I'm going to suggest right there. One example is, I'm going to suggest one example from the story. So now the person reading it has that option to click on it and say, oh, they want me to add in those words there. Do I want to add it? I can hit a check mark, accept suggestion, or reject suggestion. So we have our comments and we have suggestions. So they are different from each other, but this is not changing their writing. They have to accept it. And when they accept it, that will change their writing, or they reject it and it just goes away. So if I accept it, there's that. Or if I undo, I can reject it and it goes away. So that gives students the power to say, do I want to have that suggestion or do I not? This is a really great, powerful tool for students when they're collaborating together. That way the author of this writing piece can say, hey, I appreciate your feedback, but I think I'm going to do it. Or maybe I like it, but I'm going to change it just a little bit. It really highlights and really shows what changes want to be made, because if I was doing it and not in suggestion mode, I say one example from, I'm in suggestion mode. I need to turn that off. So one example from the story is. So now it doesn't stand out. Besides it being a different color, which you wouldn't always have, that doesn't stand out. But if I put that as a suggestion, then it points out to the student, the reader, that, hey, they're saying I should make this change. Let me see if it fits for what I want it to do. So making suggestions instead of just writing it in there is a great option. So again, for one example, I'm going to hit suggest edits. One example from the story is, okay, and then that gives the student the choice and the power. So when they can click here and they'll see where it is. They can click here and see what it is. Okay. From another point of view, so let's say you were sharing it with a student. I am now as a student view. So this is someone who shared it. And as this person, I do not have editing privileges. I shared it as a commenter or a suggestion. So if I was a student working with another student, I have suggesting capabilities, but not editing. So let's say one example from the story is that Annie would sit up on the fence and stare at the other side, the black side. One day, this shows the theme of don't judge people by their appearance, because you know what? I just think that's kind of wordy. Whoop, trying to highlight that. So right now I've got add a comment. So as a suggester, I cannot leave suggestions and delete anything because I don't have editing capabilities. I can hit delete here. Okay, so whatever changes I make on here come as a suggestion. So I could say, highlight this one day. So if I just start typing, it makes the changes as a suggestion. One day, he, one day she, let's see, Chloe asked if she could jump rope with Clover and her friends. Okay, so it automatically goes into a suggestion. I could do that as a comment as well. So let's say the next one I wanted to say, you know what, I want to make that a comment. I can leave that comment here. There's a few different ways. So we have our comments and we have our suggestions. I like the suggestions because then it gives the students the power to say, yes, I like that, or no, I don't. And a comment can be helpful suggestions of how they can do it. In Google, so let's say we have a student. I'm going to go back to my other one where I own the document. So let's say you have the kind of student that says, no, I don't want to listen to anybody. I do it all myself. I've got it cleared. They're all gone. What can you do? Up top, you can see who's in the document. I'm in the document with my student account. I can see, view the history of who's been in here. And then I've also got a comment history. I can see what comments have been left. And students can delete it from here, but I don't, if they don't know it exists there, then it may not be a bad thing. So thinking about how can you use that comment history. One suggestion that I have to help with this is to teach students a classroom management of they're not allowed to clear comments. They're allowed to comment done or thank you or took care of it or I don't understand. So they're able to comment back, but I wouldn't have them resolve them just to avoid any kind of clicking of done, 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 done. That can become an issue with that. The last thing I want to talk about is the student sharing their documents to make sure that they give this person they're sharing it with the correct rights to it. So when they go up to share, they can see who has it and they actually can. So let's say student, I want to remove them. I want to remove their name from it. Okay. I no longer want it to be shared with that person. I can remove it. That is my document. That is my right. I own the document. So let's say you want to share it with someone. So I'm going to share it with my student account. I can share it as an editor. So I have full editing capabilities. I can delete, I can change, I can do anything. There is a commenter. So that's where they can make suggestions and comments only. So they cannot delete anything without the author's actual permission. They can make suggestions, but that's it. And then viewers can only read it and nothing more. They can't do anything else but view it. So depending on what you want your students to be able to do, comment and editor would be the best ones. So again, commenter. I'm going to move back over to my student view for a second. So when I go over to my student account where I've shared it, I do not have editing. I only have suggesting mode. So when I go in to type, it'll become a suggestion for the author instead. So again, up top, we can star it, we can add it to our drive, we can change our folders, we can see our comment history, and we can go between editing and suggesting what changes need to be made in our Google document. If you have any questions, please reach out to me and we can work through how can we help more effectively give feedback to students through Google Docs.